Hi everyone and welcome back to the webinar. My name is Sarah Pinder. I'm the Resource Services Manager with Michigan Nonprofit Association and also in charge of the Leadership with Purpose program. And I'm joined by my colleague Nellie. You want to quick introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Nellie Tsai. I'm the director of our K-12 Civic Engagement program called the League of Michigan.
Great, thanks Nellie. And Nellie was integral last year and this year with our planning committee here internally for the Leadership with Purpose program, so I asked her to help out with this webinar today. I do see that we have a quick question from Teresa. Teresa, if you listen and aren't able to view the webinar, I think it'll be fine. We do have a few slides that'll help reiterate the points that we're making today, but you can certainly gain something from listening only. And that's a great segue to say that if you do have questions or comments or you want to join the discussion, certainly feel free to use any of the tools on this webinar program, the questions box, the raise hand function, and the chat function. It's highly unlikely that this program will take us the full hour, so we will put out the information and then try to answer questions toward the end and go from there. But first, a great big thank you to you all for agreeing to help us review these applications this year. We're really excited to be able to offer the Leadership with Purpose program. Michigan Nonprofit Association, of course, serves nonprofit organizations statewide, I'm sure you all know. And one of the ways we do that is to help with talent development and leadership. It's one of our core values. So we see Leadership with Purpose as a really great way for us to be integral and right on the ground level of developing the next generation of leaders within the nonprofit sector. So Leadership with Purpose speaks directly to that goal. In addition, with a very important tenet of diversity, inclusion, and equity, which is something we'll spend a little bit of time talking about today, and some considerations to keep in mind while you're reviewing. But really excited to be able to offer the program. You reviewers are an absolutely integral part with that, so thank you so much. So I might have preceded myself a little bit with talking about what the program is. Again, I know that we have several people on the phone that participated in the program. I think we also have some people on the phone that reviewed applications last year. But just as a quick overview, Leadership with Purpose is designed as a leadership exploration cohort, and it really helps participants identify their purpose within social change work. One of the ways we do that is a cohort experience. So a small group, and I say small, but we had about 62 people participate last year, but it's still smaller compared to the sector. And that helps, create this ability that people can reflect on their own experiences as well as build relationships and confidence within that group. Also, participants receive some training, whether that be informal training or really learning, on-the-job skills and how they're going to take back the information that they're discovering about themselves and their past and put it into their career. Also, networking is a big part of the program. We, in each city we go to, we're able to bring nonprofit leaders to the convenings, and they share their experiences. All of our nonprofit leaders that we had as guests last year were very candid on things that they've learned. So great place to network, as well as networking within that cohort. I think as some of the people from the program last year will attest, they still are in touch with other members, and there are a lot of kind of neat connections that have happened after the program is over. And then, of course, they have access to tools and resources and access to M&A membership now that we call that our career development membership, but provides lots of different benefits, opportunities for added networking or continued networking throughout the year. And ultimately, those are kind of the four tenets of the program and what you will be the program and what participants, if they're chosen, will get access to. So as you can see on your screen, this is a little bit about the evaluation and actually looking at the applications and how you'll review them. There happens to be a lot of words on the screen, which is partially my doing. I like to put things out there. But don't be overwhelmed by it. The review and the applications will be very straightforward for you. We just wanted to highlight a few different places that you might get this. Some of the questions that we've posed, you know, for instance, what do you hope to achieve in 5 years? Introduce yourself in 100 words or less. They may not readily seem to match up with some of the criteria, the evaluation criteria, but they really do. And the questions on the application were written from a sense, how do we get the best sense of who this person is? Because that's, as evaluators and as reviewers, that's really what we want you to do. We want you to read the application, feel like you have some sense of knowing this person in their 1 to 2 page application, and then answer those questions thoughtfully on, you know, where they may maybe see those alignments. So the topics in blue demonstrated self-awareness, desire to work in the nonprofit sector, program benefit to the individual, desire to impact social issues, and a unique perspective to the cohort. Those are the 5 kind of topic areas that we'll be asking you a question on when you go to fill out the review form. So has the applicant demonstrated self-awareness? Do they have a desire to work in the nonprofit sector, etc.? And the questions below, shown in the black bullets, are the questions that were asked to the applicant and where we might think you find those answers. Now again, after you've read through their application, and I encourage you to read the full application before filling out the review, you know, you may be able to answer those questions in blue just from reading the application. But if you're struggling a little bit about where do I find this, or where were they supposed to include that, and maybe they didn't, that's where these bulleted points are to direct you and to those questions in the particular application. So I hope that's clear. Nellie, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I think the next slide, as you guys are going through the 2-page application, and as you're reading everyone's stories, you know, we prepared the slides for you so that way you can keep in mind these things, so that way when you're writing up your rubric, we are able to include people from all different backgrounds, all different experiences, and bring them onto the program, because we want to be really open-minded about folks. Maybe they don't have a nonprofit background, maybe they're fresh out of college, you know, all these things. So here are some things that you can keep in mind as you are reading these these applications. And we thought long and hard about how we can make sure that you, our reviewers, are helping us recruit the most diverse, most meaningful cohort for this year. So one of the main points is that we really want us to focus on the messaging of each application, more so than like the grammar or their like where they went to school and all of that stuff. You know, if you can understand their story, if you can get a sense of who they are through how they wrote it, that's great. If they don't know the difference between who and whom, that's okay. We'll be okay with that. Also, really thinking about the depth of their experience, not so much the breadth. Maybe they don't have a 2-page resume to really showcase for you, but they were really invested in certain issues, or they're really passionate about a school project that they worked on, and they went above and beyond whatever thing. They're really into making sure their own communities are being well served, that they are working within their family unit to make sure that it's strong. Those are all great experiences that they can be talking about, that we want to keep in mind that those are really meaningful and awesome things to be passionate about. Also thinking about unique voice. You know, what is really standing out about this person that you want to make sure we see through your rubric? because we're not going to get to read every single person's application, so we're really hoping that you can highlight what you thought made this person stood out to you through filling those forms out. You know, were they, I don't know, were they a veteran? Were they multi-generational homes? All these different things that make you you. We're really looking for a holistic picture to come through each of these rubrics. So if you can do that for us, that'd be wonderful. And also the last thing is really to keep in mind how you can be impartial in your evaluations, which I know can be hard sometimes. So we're asking that you maybe take a pause after you review each application and thinking about your reaction to that particular application. Is it more with your own experiences and maybe something that resonated with you personally, or is it more about what you read there? Sarah, did you have anything to add?
Well, just on that last point, I mean, for instance, something as simple as I might read an application and someone went to the University of Michigan. And I am a diehard Spartan fan as well as an alumni for anybody that knows me. So I may have to step back and say, oh, why did I just, you know, get that sour note in my head about this person that went to the University of Michigan. Sorry to any Wolverines that are on the phone, but yeah, or Nellie.
I'm obviously going to punctuate my application with Go Blue everywhere I can.
But that's just a really simple, kind of silly example of when you do have an immediate reaction to something like that, as we most do in some way or another, just taking a step back to think, why is that? Why am I reacting? And does it really matter to this application? We have a question, it looks like, from Latia. How many applicants do you suggest we read in one sitting? Well, your total applications are probably going to be anywhere between 10 and 15. And we do limit the length of responses that folks are going to be giving. So in general, you will get an application that is 1 to 2 pages long. I would say if you really sat down and dedicated time to it, that you could probably get through all of your applications in that time setting if you had an hour and a half to attribute it to it. I would recommend maybe reading 1 or 2 consecutively before you actually fill out the review form. That usually gives you a good sense of you know, what they look like and what they look like in comparison to some other people, because oftentimes that first one that you do, you may score it differently than you do other ones just because you're not sure what to expect. So good question. Thank you for asking.
Thanks, Latia. Then our final slide, like Sarah said, we didn't anticipate this webinar taking a full hour, is just to give you a sense of the timelines that are coming up and all the relevant deadlines for you. So the applications are going to be due to M&A tomorrow, and we're hoping to be able to flip that around back to you, divvying them up. So all of you guys who have graciously donated your time, get them all to you by this Friday, so that way you guys have a full week to be able to get your evaluations back to us. We hope to have all of our cohort members selected and announced by August 8th, and our first convening we're scheduling, or in our heads it's going to be on September 30th, and I believe it'll be here in Lansing. And then we'll have 2 more convenings after that with our cohort, one in October and one in November.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, we've already extended the application deadline for the applicants, so we won't be doing that again. We can't do that again to meet our timeline. So as Nellie so eloquently pointed out, that July 24th is a Sunday, I believe. It's a firm deadline. Really need your evaluations turned in by then. If I don't see some evaluations, you know, by Friday that week, I'll probably be reaching out to you, but that is imperative to keep us on track for this very quick timeline here. And from a technical aspect, again, if you did it last year, I hope it was pretty simple. You will receive the applications via email. You will receive a little preview of the application or the reviewing form, as well as a link to the review form. So it should all be spelled out in the email you received. That doesn't mean feel free to reach out to me with questions that you might have. But what it is you'll review the applications, and then you will go online and fill out those 5 simple review questions. And feel free, it is really helpful when we do get into the actual selection process. If you have initial thoughts or comments on someone's response or the reason you're scoring them, there is an opportunity for you to leave some open-ended comments. So yeah, and it looks like we have another question from Erica.
Will the identifiers on the application be removed prior to us receiving them, in case you know anyone personally that may be applying, so you can?
Yes. So as a reviewer, you receive the questions, or excuse me, the applicant's answers to the, I think, 6 or 7 narrative questions that we had this year. That is all the information you receive. You will not receive the person's name, their background, their resume, their reference letter, their demographic information. And that is done intentionally to allow the external reviewers, you guys in the group, to give us a really objective opinion on this person. And then as we go through the process, we're able to consider some of the other information that they provided. So in response to Erica's question, if you read a person's application and you can still tell from the experiences that they're sharing that you know this person, there is an opportunity on the review form to indicate that you have a conflict of interest. Now, I will say with that, if you anticipate that you have a conflict of interest, it's okay to say I won't review that and to report that on the review form. However, I'd encourage you to think about what that conflict is. So if you can still think you can objectively evaluate this person without that conflict coming into play, that's okay. I'll just put out a practical example. So if your best friend is applying to the cohort and you get their application and you really want them to do it because you did it last year and it was so much fun, then yeah, that's a conflict. You're probably going to weight that person a little bit different than you would someone else. However, if you give someone and they're talking about their experience working with the Humane Society of Michigan, and you know someone who worked for the Humane Society of Michigan, those things that are kind of a wider degree of separation, if you can step back and ask yourself, can I still objectively evaluate this application, then go ahead and do it. It's not so sensitive that you can't read an application from someone from an organization you've ever worked with or whatnot. So Erica, I hope that answers your question, and as well as gives a little bit more information for anyone that might be thinking. I know, like I said, we've got members from the 2015 cohort that are on this call, and I'm hopeful that they are recommending it to all their friends because it was a great program to participate in. So yeah, this timeline slide is our last slide. I always joke that we've given you back the gift of time. So you scheduled an hour and we've only taken a minor fraction of that. But I'm leaving this open to other questions. Feel free to ask, again, using those methods, the chat function or the questions box or even the raise hand function, and ask those questions. If not, we have been recording this webinar. We will be sending it out, and we will send it out to all the reviewers that weren't on the phone today. Yeah. Robert, you're going to have to probably use the chat or the questions box function because I'm not going to unmute you at this point. If you have a question still. We are seeing a pretty good turnout on applications. Tomorrow at midnight is the deadline, so I anticipate seeing a lot of people upload their applications tomorrow right now we're at right about 75 or so last time I checked. So looking to have a really great cohort to choose from again. Like I said, I think we'll keep the webinar program up for 2 or 3 minutes, and if you have any other questions, let us know. If not, thank you again for your time, not only today, but also in the review process. Robert's question is, how many of us reviewers are there? Right now, I believe we have about 30 reviewers, and each application, this is another thing you might just be interested in knowing, each application is reviewed 3 times. So in addition to your review, 2 other people will be reviewing those applications, and then we take an average of the scores that you're given on your review and use that in our internal selection process. Yeah, Nellie's going to take us back on the presentation real quick if you just are curious about that slide that had the most information on it, probably. Looks like we don't have any other questions, so thank you again for participating. Hope you all have a wonderful day and enjoy your afternoon.